Emperor Thomas Lucifer III watched as those he ruled tried to convince him about how much aid they needed for his project. "I have already given you hundreds of slaves, and you dare to say you do not have enough?" Thomas slammed his fist on the armrest. The minor lord in front of him trembled in fright, likely due to how quickly, as emperor, he could have the fool executed. "But your excellency, many of the slaves are not strong enough for the task you have graciously given me. I require more slaves to unearth the tower," the man whined. A voice to his right inputted their idea into the discussion. "Dear, you do know that this man, though simple, is right. Sometimes you need to use brute force to solve problems, and this is one of them." Agatha, his wife, advised him. "We both know how important this task is." Her voice had a serious tone, reminding him of what they both knew. The emperor looked at the sniveling noble and slowly nodded his head in agreement. Gaining knowledge of the tower was extremely important for them to gain an upper hand on the other nations. Thinking about how they were able to learn about the object still made him shiver slightly, but he was determined to gain dominance over those who were attempting to defile the pure human bloodline. "You are dismissed. I will have someone present you with the necessary slaves." Thomas gave the lord a penetrating look. "But I expect for you to have the task completed soon, or there will be consequences." He watched as the man quickly bowed and quickly walked out of the room. "Was there such a need to treat him like that?" a voice called out from the shadows. It was the type of voice that anyone would enjoy listening to, regardless of gender. The woman that emerged from the darkness was someone that looked pure of heart, as she wore a modest outfit which also seemed to showcase the curves of her figure. With a black coat which covered her shoulders and upper arm, and a white dress with a skirt seemed to mold to her legs, Lady Ash appeared to glide whenever she walked, the skirt not even hampering her movements. "Lady Ash, we apologize for having you see such a scene," Agatha said. She got up and went over to Lady Ash and knelt in front of her. Thomas looked at the lady, feeling something he was unfamiliar with. He remembered the first time he had met this woman, who seemed unafraid of his position. When he first ascended the throne, Thomas lacked confidence in his ability to lead and unite the Empire. Watching how non-humans were becoming stronger and expanded their territories, he understood that something had to be done. Around this time, Lady Ash had approached him and given him advice on how he could see humans return to their rightful place in the world. Even more tempting was having him rule the entire continent, allowing those of pure lineage to live happy lives. "Thomas, I see that things are going well?" Lady Ash asked him, as she laid a hand on his wife's head. Lately, his wife had begun to see Lady Ash as a mentor, being in contact with Lady Ash and developing a bond. "Yes, we have made significant progress with fully uncovering the tower. As you have said, the tower had begun to pulsate, signaling that the overflow was near," Thomas answered. Lady Ash clapped her hands together and said joyously, "I am happy that you have done so well. With this tower, your dreams will become a reality, and you will be able to provide the guidance that this world needs." She looked down at Agatha and gave a large smile. "I am sure that you have done so much to help your loving husband." "Yes, my lady. I have tried to be a good source of strength for my wonderful husband." When Lady Ash motioned with her hand, Agatha stood back up and went to stand by his side. "He is such a compassionate ruler, who has everyone's best interests at heart," Agatha explained with pride on her face. Seeing Agatha say such things, Thomas felt a sense of happiness and pride well up inside of him. "My lady, as my lovely queen has expressed to you, I look forward to conquering these lands and setting up clear lines of the difference between humans and non-humans. I hope that my actions will be forever remembered as a compassionate one." He smiled at his wife as she looked at him with a happy smile on her face. "Seeing the two of you really makes me feel a sense of peace," Lady Ash said to the two of them. With her arms crossed behind her, she gave off a childlike innocence about her. "With the tower, you will be able to have a degree of influence on the monsters that make up the Overflow. Though I would like to remind you that abusing this power would not work out well for you. Currently, there is another force which is attempting to influence the Overflow for their own purposes, and they may attempt to stop you." Her face had a look of frustration and annoyance, as if such a thing was only piling more work on her. Thomas tried not to appear too surprised when he learned that others could control the beast. "Lady Ash, who are these people who can control the Overflow?" He tried to keep his voice level. "They are what your legends call demons. Someone from an organization headquartered within your lands had successfully released them, so they are a little childish as they flex their muscles." Seeing the expression on Thomas's face, she added, "There is no need to be worried to such a degree. There are other elements which can influence the demons, in a supervisorial role, you could say." She held the back of her hand to her mouth and lightly giggled. Thomas always thought that the way she giggled was one of the most magnificent sounds in the world. Seeing Agatha look at him slightly, he quickly put the idea out of his mind. "Since you have arrived, how about we prepare a feast in your honor? I know that my son Eric would appreciate your wisdom. His older brothers could also use your guidance, as they will someday have to take leadership positions," Thomas suggested. Though Lady Ash looked like an innocent lady of the court, Thomas had long understood that her intelligence and wisdom were beyond any he had ever met. He always tried to have his sons and daughter interact with her whenever she made an appearance. He would even try to listen in on their debates, allowing him to gain additional insight into developing his abilities. Looking over to one of the servants nearby, Agatha commanded, "I would like for all my sons and my daughter to greet Lady Ash and prepare for a feast." The servant bowed and quietly left the room. "The two of you are so considerate. There is no need to put so much effort on my behalf. Interacting with your children is such a joy. I feel like I am part of the family," Lady Ash responded as her eyes became slightly misty. "My lady, to not show you this level of respect would be unforgivable," Agatha voiced. "You are an important guest, and we are blessed to have our children to have a mentor such as yourself in their life." Lady Ash fanned her eyes to get rid of her tears and regain her motions. "It means so much to hear you say that, Agatha. Being able to share my knowledge is such a treasure for me. Little Samantha is doing so well with understanding the concepts I am teaching her," Lady Ash complimented Agatha. Agatha curtsied in response. "To hear you compliment my daughter is a high honor." "My lady, let us retire to the lounge so you may be more comfortable as we wait for the feast to be prepared," Thomas suggested. Taking Agatha by her arm, he led the way to the lounge. Considering the area was reserved only for those close to the imperial family, the decorations were rather downplayed in style. There was a large fireplace with leather couches and chairs surrounding it. A maid was present for preparing refreshments and finger food, in case any guests were feeling hungry before the large meal. Thomas indicated for Lady Ash to sit in the largest leather chair, which was his favorite place to relax due to how comfortable it was. He felt his spirits lift when she gave him a smile at his offer. Agatha and himself took one of the couches, and he enjoyed the feeling of his wife leaning against him. Though she had 5 children, Agatha still looked as beautiful as she did when he first met her. Her figure was one of the attributes that drew him towards her, and later when he learned of her high intellect, Thomas felt that they were a match made by the gods. As they talked with Lady Ash on minor topics, Lady Ash enjoyed sipping on a tea provided to her. Her mannerisms was of a higher nobility compared to anyone he had ever met. As Agatha was talking to her, Thomas tried his best to not stare at the lady. Thankfully, he heard several sets of footsteps to indicate his children had arrived. "Lady Ash, you look as stunning as ever," Eric voiced out to her when he entered the lounge and bowed to her. Lady Ash's tinkling laughter could be heard in response as she nodded her head to him. "Eric, as always, you seem to be a rogue. I do hope you do not cause too many problems with the ladies in the courts." "If you can tear him away from his whore," Samantha quietly voiced, as she was standing far enough from the lady to hear, but close enough for everyone else to notice. "My brother does have a penchant for attracting the ladies," Benford, his eldest son, answered as he nudged Eric's side. "I do admit that my baby brother could put in more effort in finding a respectable woman," Charles, his second eldest son, agreed with Benford. "At least I am not like little Hanson, who seems uninterested in women," Eric grinned while he looked at his older brother, who looked shy as usual. Samantha stepped to her younger brother's defense and said, "As usual, my brother seems to lack the ability to go up against opponents stronger than him." As the oldest of all of Thomas's children, Samantha had become a very independent woman who understood that she would not be inheriting the throne and likely would be married off for political strength. "My sister seems to be overestimating her strength," Eric said, an edge to his voice. "Eric, we should be more respectful towards one another in front of our mentor," Benford mentioned as he bowed to Lady Ash in apology. Lady Ash was gently shaking her head. "To hear the 5 of you acting with such disharmony only brings pain to my heart." Glancing over to Samantha, she stated, "I expect more from my star pupil." Hearing Lady Ash have such a disappointed voice made Samantha drop her head in shame. "I have shamed you, my mentor." Looking at each of Thomas's children and seeing that they understood, she flashed them a light smile. "As long as each one of you understand why such behavior is unbecoming, I am satisfied." Turning her head to Eric, she asked, "Eric, how is your training progressing?" Eric looked proud at being asked first. "My lady, I have succeeded in increasing my abilities to several times greater than those of my classmates." Samantha gave Eric a look to suggest what she thought of his progress. "Wonderful! It is good to hear such news." Lady Ash clapped to congratulate Eric. "Though what I teach is very basic, the concepts are very difficult to grasp. As with Eric, all of you will be able to gain greater awareness and abilities." Lady Ash looked at each of them.